Welcome. I'm glad you guys are here today and joining us again. Before we get started, I just want to call attention to kind of what the purpose of these meetings are. You know, for the past few years, we have been working diligently on getting everybody aligned, not just within LADOTD, but also with our consultants and contractors as well. And that is the purpose of these meetings. Hopefully, we've been providing that to you. And along with that, with the oncoming of the ADAs of construction, we hope that process has gotten better there as well. And we really appreciate them joining us on these meetings also. So with all that said, I want to go ahead and turn it over to Matt Jones, who will be taking the first section here.
All right. Good morning, everybody. So hopefully everybody got the agenda so that you know what we're going to be going through today. But to start off, I'm going to again give a kind of an update. I spoke with Chad Robeek this morning regarding the reorganization. Again, I know we've talked about that pretty much every webinar for the last 4 or 5 probably. But just to reiterate, we do have preliminary approval from civil service for the PE reallocations, project engineer reallocations, the assistant project engineer, and the project delivery engineer. Still working on the lab engineer, and it looks like they'll be adding an assistant lab engineer to make sure that there's the required chain of command to bump that up to an engineer 7 as well. So that's in process and will hopefully be reviewed here quickly, and then we can move forward with getting all of them opened up, reallocated, and get those positions in place. The other thing is, I'm sure y'all saw there's an email that was sent out. There's no longer a hiring freeze, so we are able to hire for positions. However, we do want y'all to be aware. Make sure to contact your ADAs of construction. They'll make sure that we're putting the right people in the right places in the particular project engineer groups. I want to say gangs, but I know it's not gangs anymore. Units. So, you know, just because you might have TO an opening, if you've only got, say, 2 or 3 projects, they might need more inspectors in another PE office at this point. So it's up to the ADAs of construction to kind of determine what those postings will be, who gets the inspectors. But please be aware that is an option. Certainly, if y'all are short-staffed, go out there, make sure you are advertising the continuous openings and trying to get new folks in here so we can get all these projects reviewed and sampling and testing done. All right. Also, with the moves, since Chad has retired, Brian has moved up to the chief engineer position. And obviously, we've been change orders. We've had the setup where Brian was signing for the chief engineer. It had been delegated to him. And then I had been signing for the chief construction engineer because that had been delegated to me for change orders. However, the RFCO was still going directly to the chief. And so we've updated those templates so that it's not going to Chad anymore. It does need to go to Brian. So please update your template. Don't, in DocuSign, don't pull the old template. Run that through where Chad is the final signature, because obviously he's no longer with the department and will not get that email, and it will just sit there in perpetuity. So I want to make sure you're using the new template. If you do not have access to it, please contact Sarah Balmer. She created all those templates for us in DocuSign, and so they should be available. We can share that with you. Just make sure to contact her to get that updated. And next.
Matt?
No.
Sorry, I couldn't find my unmute button there. So next up, sorry, I'm going way too far ahead. right here. Okay, so next up we have one of our ADAs of construction, Bridget Mathis, is going to go over a list of admin change orders.
Okay, so good morning. In an effort to ensure consistency throughout the state within construction, the ADAs of construction, along with headquarters construction, has developed a list that you see on your screen of administrative change orders. These change orders do not require the RFCO to be completed and signed prior to generating the change order. For those who can't see the screen, who are just joining the call via audio, it's mainly the administrative ones like the OCP insurance, the fuel and asphalt adjustments, the police presence, railroad flagging, pay adjustments per specification, reconciling final quantities, additional days as agreed upon for holiday periods, adverse weather days, claim settlements, plans or plan sheet revisions that include no time and no money, and administrative project closeout. The main goal is to provide consistency statewide while also streamlining the change order process for these types of change orders. If any of the PEs or consultants feel that we have missed a type of change order that should be considered administrative, please reach out to your ADA of construction in your district, and we will review and consider whether they could be added to the list.
Well, one other quick thing to add to that, some of these do involve money. So like police, railroad flagging, the reconciling final quantities, sometimes that has, it's a positive and not a negative. So just be aware if there is an adjustment to the positive, make sure you're notifying the project manager, because it might be that we need to set up additional funds for those, even though there's not an RFCO. Obviously, in the RFCO, we say, yes, I've contacted the PM. They're aware of it, so they know that additional funds might need to be set up. But please remember police, railroad flagging, fuel asphalt adjustments. Again, those things can add up over time, and we might need the additional funds set up for whichever funding category we have.
Right. Appreciate that. And thanks, Bridget. That was great. And just like always, we will share this PowerPoint out in the recap email, so you'll have this list. And as we add to it, we'll continue to share it. So next up, we're going to talk about HeadLight and some system updates. And this is going to be the less show for a few minutes because these are all my topics. I'll try to get through them fairly quickly because it's really just information for you, not necessarily any kind of training on this or anything like that. Number one, and probably one of the most important things that's going on right now, is the material codes and what we have to do there to get HeadLight functioning. So we have decided to go back to our legacy material codes, the same structure that the 2016 codes were in. We have just found that it's caused a lot of confusion over the past several months trying to switch to the new structure there. So we're going to go back to what everybody knows and kind of the codes that you remember, the codes that you're familiar with, until we get the system stable, right? And everybody's able to use it on their 2026 projects. And we got samples going through the new HeadLight LIMS system for the labs. That doesn't mean that we're just giving up and not going to try to do any kind of simplification of those codes. We are just kind of punting for right now. I will say our team is working on some spreadsheets from the material code data we have now. We are removing some stuff that we have not used in several years, and trying to get that aligned with what we actually do. So we are improving it some now, but we are still going to be looking at that in the future to do even more updates and make it simple. Next up on the list with HeadLight only projects is there's an interim closeout process. And I have talked to a few people about this, but we want to make sure we're sharing this with everyone. So HeadLight does not have the final estimate function similar to Site Manager. So after lots of little sessions with our audit group, we have found that the estimates that are generated in HeadLight themselves have most of the information that's needed by them. And so we have kind of worked through what it takes to get a project through now. There's a couple of manual processes, such as your final references and that kind of stuff that we are doing. We're not going to train this out statewide to every PE and every consultant engineer. What we're doing is just doing these one-off. So when you have a project that needs to be finalized, a headlight only project, a hot project, just contact the email group. I'm in that email, or you can email me directly, and I will walk you through what's needed by the audit section. And it's not much, but I'll help you get through those couple manual processes to get your project turned in. And hopefully within a few months, we'll get this whole process cleaned up to where it's not an interim process anymore, but it's the final thing that you need. There are 2 hot projects in audit right now. And so even, I'm working with their team over there to get their process right. How do they actually review those projects in HeadLight? So, might be a little struggle there at first, but they seem to be coming up with some pretty good little plans, and I'm kind of excited about it. So look forward to that coming. Next up, this is a simple little update, the project progress update form. You all should have received an email. HeadLight resolved some of the data issues that were not updating the project viewer correctly from that form. So like I said, you should have got that email. They also went back and corrected the historical forms there. So we just ask you, continue submitting your project progress update forms after each estimate, so that we can get that, keep that project viewer updated. Ticket routing. Okay, so a couple of different issues here. So I have been seeing a lot of LePave issues being sent to OTS, and then OTS having to route that back to us. So those should not go to OTS. There is a way to submit tickets directly in LePave. And this is a great one for contractors as well as LADOTD and consultants. So our contractors obviously, put their mixed designs in LePave. So just make sure you're not sending any of that to OTS. It needs to come to either the e-construction group or, like I said, directly in LePave. And following up on that, also, we have been seeing some HeadLight issues go to OTS as well. And every once in a while, we have to kind of reiterate this. Please do not send iPad or HeadLight issues to OTS. They get a little confused because they're not supposed to be in that loop, and they start asking a bunch of questions, and it goes round and round about what we're doing. And so we have to kind of explain it over and over again. There are a couple of legitimate issues that OTS has to handle. But again, you submit it to HeadLight support, copy the e-construction group. If it is one of those legitimate and things that needs to be handled by OTS, we can help guide you in the way that we should get those tickets sent over to them so that they're not confused by what you're requesting. One, I do want to call attention to this as well. We got a lot of questions, and even a few, like one of the poll questions came in through our form that we use every month to get feedback from you guys or get questions. This is one of the things that came in. Someone asked for us to give an updated list of all the different HeadLight links. There are lots of HeadLight links now. So I went in last week and I updated the construction website, specifically the e-construction part of the website. And you see the 2 things I have highlighted here with the green box around them. So the HeadLight, there's 2 sections, right? There's support, and then there's also like, where do I go to actually get to the software? So the HeadLight request forms there on the left, that's where you go to get support. That is stuff like the issue reporting form is there. You'll see there's actually another one here as well, but it's also in this list of forms. Damaged device returns, that kind of stuff is in that HeadLight request forms. And that's all linked on our website. And then to the right here, you see I went in and added, we had field book and materials and sample plan there, but I added the home app and also limbs, and I believe I added portal. The QR code on the left also will bring you directly there. And like I said, we will share this out once we're done. Stockpile training. This is another kind of hot topic that we've been hearing about for the past couple months. Doing stockpiles in HeadLight is different, and we did not have a training set up for that for a while. but working with some of our Ps across the state, we have kind of nailed down, we believe, what needs to be done there. HeadLight is developing the training. We plan to do pretty soon like a one-to-many session, like we used to do with the e-construction webinars and the training sessions there. We'll kind of share it out with anybody, but if you need help now, if you actually have an invoice from a contractor that needs to be doing a Stockpile advance, you can contact support@headlight.com. We'll set that up and do some training with you. So just want to give some special thanks there to Brandon Usey and Matt Jantz and Kevin Adams, and I believe Hunter, who was it? Hunter Stewart. They all worked with us, and we went through several examples and kind of got that lined out. And with that, we're going to move on to our materials and contract administration section. And starting that will be Matt Jones.
All right. I get to speak again. So first thing is the contract administration manual. So one, I want to commend y'all. We did get several topics submitted as far as what y'all would like for us to talk about and additional information. So appreciate that. It helps us make sure that we're providing y'all relevant information. And one of those was the contract administration manual. So we are in the process of updating that right now. That was one of the T4 LA initiatives, was to kind of update that. We've gone back and forth with Garver Rollins. We sent it off to the Mat Lab, to compliance, to update some of those sections. We've gotten all that feedback back. And so we're just going back over the final information. So we're trying to get that taken care of for November, have that done, make sure it's tied in with our 2026 specs. We updated the change order thresholds, and so that should all be rolling out November. Right after that, we are planning on updating the pre-construction checklist. So that includes making sure it's updated with the 2026 specs, making sure the information in it is relevant, that things haven't changed, just revamping that whole checklist, make sure it's not 27 pages long that you have to go through for each pre-construction conference. The invite list shouldn't really change that much. I know with the reorg, we're moving some things around, but the people that should be invited are still pretty much the same. You want to make sure, obviously, the contractors, subcontractors, utilities that might have to be relocated, that they're all invited and aware of the pre-con. Also, compliance needs to be notified. Headquarters, your headquarters area engineer, your ADA of construction certainly needs to be notified. So a lot of this stuff is still the same, hasn't really changed. So the invite list probably won't change that much, but we will take a look at it to make sure there's no additional information or modifications that need to be done. And again, if you have any comments, questions, just send me a note. Hey, I think this needs to be changed, especially pre-construction checklist. And or the construction administration manual. Again, we're trying to make sure we take care of all the discrepancies, but if there's something you see, you can send that to me, make sure that we get that modified before we send that out as, a completed document. All right, another thing that kind of came up was price holds, and the fact that some suppliers are only keeping their prices for 14 days. At headquarters construction, we've not really been notified of this up to this point. Did contact AGC and was told that electronic components seem to be one of those items that they're only holding prices for about 14 days, the suppliers are. And so if that's the case, obviously contractors, you'd need to build in some risk into your project. That is something that we can stockpile. So as soon as the contract is awarded and get y'all set up, we can stockpile those materials. If there's other materials that we're not aware of, if it's aggregates, striping supplies, things like that, we're not really able to stockpile as well. I know aggregates is supposed to be its own separate stockpile that's not used for anything else. So if y'all would, contractors, please notify us of where you're having these issues. I know back in 2022, we had some issues with steel. And when the prices jumped so high there, they were only holding their prices for about a week. And, there was just prices were all over the place and it was escalating far too quickly. Not sure what might be going on right now that's causing them to only allow 14 days, other than I think there was something with storage for all these data centers that are going in, or sweeping up all the components for storage material, or digital storage, I should say. Again, hadn't really said anything on Falcon, but again, if that's coming through, make sure you notify us through Falcon as well. And we do still have those escalators in place for fuel, asphalt, and steel. We are reviewing the steel index. We might be going back through and possibly pulling that, as that was something we implemented back in 2022. And at this point, prices have pretty well stabilized. There's not a lot of fluctuation, and it seems to be more work than the benefit that we're getting out of it. So that's something we are reviewing and that we might get rid of in the future.
Thanks, Matt. And now we're going to move on to a fiscal year recap with Dallas Vollmer.
Good morning. All right, so I'm going to talk about the fiscal year dates that we had this year, just to kind of give some indication of what happened. So at the end of June, we shut down the system. So last day to make payments was June 25th, and the last day to modify purchase orders was Friday after that, so one day later. And no changes to purchase orders could happen after Friday, June 26th through August of 26, August 7th of 26. So that's a month span where if changes were needed to the purchase order, they cannot be done. And we are now in the process of getting budget added to purchase orders that cannot be added previously. And that's causing a lot of problems with payments that have been sitting for a while. So just to go back, on July 6th, we were able to make payments where purchase order changes were not necessary. We were able to make payments in that manner through August 5th. So we're able to make payments, but not anything that required new funding. We have a stack of projects we're working through right now. I spent all day yesterday looking at projects, trying to get those updated. Probably a little contributing to it is working in HeadLight now. We have a lot of projects that have come over to HeadLight, and there's processes between HeadLight and the financial system that aren't working 100% of the time. So we got to work through those as well. So there's a number of issues that we're trying to work through. We're also planning on creating a dashboard where if there's some issue with the estimate that we receive, we can update that dashboard and give access to the project engineers. So whenever a payment is not done, or if they get a call about a payment, that information will be readily available. We're not trying to hide that information. It is what it is. It could be a budget issue. It could be a stockpile issue. There's a number of things it could be, and we're gonna create this dashboard to provide that feedback and hopefully provide more transparency on the status of payments. Considering we do get quite a few estimates every day. We go through hundreds every month, maybe like 400 or more. It's hard to track down each inquiry, so if we're able to provide this information in a proactive way, it should help cut back on some of the questions. And if there's legitimate issues with an estimate, we should be able to answer those more quickly because we're not investigating other questions that could just be go look it up and the answer is it's been communicated and it's clear. I guess the method of communication right now is through email, and that is limited to the people who see that email. So trying to improve the process, we're working through a pile of estimates that are stagnant, and hopefully we'll be able to get updates to y'all as soon as possible. I would think next week we should be able to have gotten through a lot of these. So next year, we'll try to do a better job of communicating when the fiscal year is ending, this 1 month lag in between, and just try to keep y'all aware of the status of the financial system. It's something that we don't have a lot of control over.
One thing that we are setting up is we're doing a after action review with budget and financial services to kind of go over when is the money available, how can we speed up this process so that in the future we don't have such a long period of time where these estimates are sitting waiting for the purchase orders to be updated so that we can then start rolling against them. And so we are setting up that meeting with them to go over that information. Dallas kind of went over as well all the emails we're getting. We are going to try to set up that dashboard like you mentioned, but in the meantime, for the next week, up to I'd say the end of next week, please refrain from sending in emails because obviously when we're getting emails from the project engineers, the contractors, multiple people, that takes away from the time that they're able to review those things and try to get them processed. So I've asked actually that the estimate group not respond to emails right now and just buckle down and get the estimates out. So just understand that if you send something right now, we're not able to really answer your emails because we're trying to process as many estimates as possible. So appreciate y'all's patience in that. I know when you haven't gotten paid for 2 months, month and a half, that's that money that y'all are having to float and finance the projects yourselves, and y'all are owed that money. So we're trying to get it to you as quickly as possible.
All right. Thanks for that update. And next up on our list, we're moving to some field guidance and consistency stuff. And with that, we're going to turn over to Chris Wascom.
Sorry about that. Good morning, everybody. So I want to talk a little bit about precast, drainage structure, shop drawings. So section 1016, most of you probably know, requires PE approval of these shop drawings before fabrication begins. And that was something that was added in the Purple Book in 2016. It was primarily added to make sure we're checking for the structure type, the number of pipe openings, the size of the pipe openings, location of the pipe openings, those sorts of things. And it was in order to just minimize the field modifications to catch basins and other structures. The project engineer being kind of the last line of defense and the guy who knows, or the person who knows, what may have changed in the field, or if they discovered a new pipe or made adjustments to elevations, things like that. And back then it was kind of like, teaching an old dog new tricks. I think a lot of the old PE just but just it those checks. Well, once the old dogs were all replaced, including myself, the younger generation is doing a much better job checking those shop drawings. They're very thorough, and they're discovered a lot of discrepancies. And as the fabricators put more and more detail on their shop drawings, there's finding more and more discrepancies. And some of these things are critical. Sometimes they're catching, wall thicknesses are off, reinforcements not correct. There's not proper cover, things like that. So it is an important process, and we want to continue it. But a lot of the things, sometimes they also catch things that are maybe less critical, discrepancies that are maybe, a little more technical in nature. And so I just want to highlight a couple of those. So on the screen there, you can see this is a cross section of a safety end. This particular safety end detail, so it shows up on the side drain alternate 1, side drain alternate 2, and the cross drain alternate 1. But it's in the precast option for safety ends as compared to the cast in place. There's a couple of different dimensions there, and we're in the process of changing those details to have the precast version match the cast in place version. The wall thickness on precast, a high strength concrete with more steel. There's really no reason why that was shown like that, but we've talked with our hydraulics unit, our structural engineers, and so we're in the process of changing that to have those match. Another issue is that difference between the width at the top and the width at the bottom, the width of the opening at the top and the bottom. That 1 inch differential is really irrelevant. Biggest thing there is we just don't want to have those walls encroach on the pipe inside diameter, so we don't impact the area of opening, so we don't impact flow. So those are a couple of changes that we're in the process of making. Just ask that you kind of bear with us. It takes a little while for us to get these details and standards changed. So project engineers out there, if you would take note of this, and maybe don't delay submittals for these sort of insignificant things. But if you do have questions and concerns, feel free to call me, and I can walk you through what those changes are going to look like on the new ones. Next slide, Les. So similarly, on the PC01 standard plan, was recently brought to my attention that some of our fabricators are not matching the tongue and groove joint detail with their form.
Hey, Chris, I hate to interrupt you, but you're cutting in and out.
So this in 2021 we updated this PCO. Yeah,
Chris, I'm sorry to interrupt you. You're cutting in and out. Do you think you could kill your video? Maybe it'll help with the bandwidth.
Sure. Is that better, Les?
So far, yes.
So I need to go back, or are we good on the previous slide?
No, not the previous slide. You can continue with this one.
Okay, good. So this is for precast catch basins, junction boxes, manholes. So in 2021 we made some changes to this standard plan, and there were some significant things we changed. But one of the, I guess, less significant things was the joint detail, and it wasn't changed for any reason. There was no performance issues. It was mainly because bridge design didn't like the way the detail showed these dimensions. We showed a minimum as well as a tolerance, and they don't like that. So they modified it, and at the time it didn't seem like a big deal to me. We went along with it. But now we've discovered that some of our fabricators, their forms don't exactly match this joint detail. So we're going to be changing this to kind of go back to what the previous version looked like. And the point is, we don't think it's worth the cost of all of our fabricators, getting new forms. So these joints have performed well. We have no issue with that. So we're going to be updating the PCO one to change some of these dimensions. So once again, just bear with us. If you notice some slight variations, please either get with me if you have concerns, or just maybe use the previous version to check against. The intent is just not to let them have such a thin lip around the edge that it's so fragile that it breaks off. And then we also want it to be that recess to be deep enough that it holds the top, the composite unit in place. But the exact dimensions are really not that critical. Next slide, Les. And so since we're talking about precast drainage structures, I want to point out that in that 2021 update, we did add the requirement that all pipe sizes should have concrete collars or the resilient connectors, the boots. Previously, I think it said 42-inch and larger pipes required collars, but around the state, I mean, we had performance issues, and I think it came from a improper grouting of those joints. You're supposed to leave a gap at the bottom where you can grout all the way around it. If you set the pipe down on the invert of the box, invert of the catch basin, it's very difficult to grout to nothing. So you can go around. I mean, we have problems where we've got sinkholes adjacent to structures all over the state. So, I mean, that's sediment getting in our subsurface drainage systems. It creates those unsightly, sometimes dangerous sinkholes. So to stop that, we just said, look, let's pour collars on everything. In my opinion, it probably would be best if the collar were poured at the same time as the invert. I mean, it's both Class R concrete, but however they want to do it. But before we backfill these boxes, we need to make sure that we get these collars in place. And this came up in a project meeting recently where the contractor actually was aware that he needed to do this, and the project engineer office was a little bit surprised. I think they actually, there was one they wanted them to pour a collar, and they were intending to pay for it, but it's included with the catch basin, and it's required on all pipe sizes, excluding yard drains and shoulder under drain systems. So where those connect into the box, those don't require collars, but they either have to use the rubber boot, which has to be approved on the AML, or pour concrete collars. I think that might be it, Les.
Right. Appreciate that, Chris. That was good. Okay, now moving on to our interactive poll that we always do. Let's see if I can get it ready to pull up here. We have two questions today for you, and they're actually pretty complicated questions. But I want you to take this into consideration before we add it here and before you answer it. I don't want you to answer this in what you think the correct answer is. We want you guys to answer these in what is actually going on in the field, like what your office is actually doing in these situations. We probably will not provide any kind of resolution to these two questions on this meeting, but it will help us to decide so that for next month we can have some guidance for you. So I'm launching that poll now. Should be able to see it. Question number one, a project includes item 722, project site laboratory equipped. The contractor provides an enclosed trailer Connex type field laboratory with the testing equipment required by section 722. The lab is used to perform the required testing during soil cement operations. During a field visit, the project engineer notes that the lab is equipped with heating and air conditioning, desk, work area, required testing equipment, but no sanitary facilities. After the soil cement work is completed, the contractor removes the lab from the project and moves it to another project. Should the pay item 722 be accepted or rejected? While y'all are answering that one, number two, you're inspecting a 2-lane divided highway project that calls for pavement patching. One of the patch areas measures out to medium size per the pay item definitions. However, due to lane closure restrictions on this roadway, the contractor cannot pour the entire medium patch in a single closure. They have to split it in two separate pours, each of which individually measures as small size. How should this patch be paid? Fairly split on the first one. Looks like, except the item. I do believe that this is the most common thing that's going on in the field. Hopefully we can bring this back to the ADAs and our group and kind of come up with some good guidance for you next month. And then also looks like pay as two small patches. The pay reflects each individual placement pour is the winner there. Again, we'll take that back and work on it this month. And next month, we'll have some more guidance for you. Thanks for taking the time to do that poll. I will stop sharing. Move on to questions. So anyway, this opens our Q&A session. Feel free to send in your questions.
So one thing real quick, I know people are asking various questions about HeadLight and reports and that sort of thing. Just understand, yes, we know there's still issues or like to haves as far as reporting goes, but right now the priority is, of course, trying to get the materials app up and running. So that's what we have them focused on. There are the data we can pull to try to get back in the original reports if HeadLight doesn't have that report. So there's ways we can go about providing that, but right now the priority is, of course, the materials app. So there was a question that came in: subletting of contractors for HeadLight only projects. How do contractors go about subletting? This was an issue for the initial hot projects, and our OTS group was actually putting the projects into Site Manager as well so that the sublet process could still continue. But we've since gotten that corrected. OTS worked with the compliance section and us to get that where the data from HeadLight is available. And so it shouldn't be any different for contractors to go in and sublet from the original contract items. We are working, the only other issue with that is the data for change orders. So change order items right now currently are not available in that sublet information. I need to get back with the OTS group to see if they were able to pull the data that was necessary so that does populate into the sublet app where that is available for the primes to then add that to subcontractors. So currently, no, the specs do not allow for second tier subs. That's a request that's kind of a special deal that goes to compliance. They usually contact us, specifically Dallas, to see if it's something that is more of a specialty type thing, as far as a second tier, third tier sublet. And so that still has to be approved through them. But generally speaking, we don't allow that. It's supposed to be its own kind of issue, but there are lots of items that we end up agreeing to and saying, yes, a secondary sublet is appropriate in that particular context. Caitlin already answered, do we have a new chief construction engineer yet? No, that actually, I think that closed last night. And so interviews will be conducted and selection will be done, I would assume, probably in the next couple of weeks. But, well, I'm not going to say anything about our process for getting people installed in a timely manner, but hopefully that'll be done shortly. Mark, the process for the second tier, I'm not actually sure because that usually goes through compliance. I assume you either have to email Keisha or somebody over there to say, hey, I've got a second tier sublet, or the sub themselves would have to submit that, because I don't think there's, through the software, I don't think there's an actual way to say that it's a second tier sublet. Dallas, do you know?
So I get emails from Judy Halloran in compliance, but from what I can tell, it's an email. It's an email to, I'll put the address in the chat. I don't know if it's specific third tier. That will probably get it to the correct people.
Hey, Matt, can you hear me?
Yes.
So I wanted to mention about the upcoming spec changes. With the September lettings, there's going to be revisions to 601, 602, 901, 902, and 1003. Just a reminder, we've talked about it before, but several of the things that are changing is gradation for the pavement mixes, slump requirements, air requirements. So if you have an older project and you want to change order in some of these technical specifications, we can do that. There's also some changes to surface resistivity involving pay and some IRI changes, but though anything involving pay, I don't think we're going to allow to be change ordered into old projects. I just want to point out to everybody that's coming out with the September lettings. We have had some questions about the slump range changing, and it does include opening up the slump for slip formed mixes, and we're aware of that, and some people had some concerns, but the specs still have tolerances as far as edge slumping of paving and other structural elements that the contractor still has to meet those slump requirements. I mean those physical tolerances, dimensional tolerances, but we didn't think that it was a good idea to be rejecting loads when slumps were slightly out. We just kind of leaving it up to the contractor that he's got to be able to meet our other specs. So I just want to clarify that.
Thank you, Chris. Hey, does anybody else have any questions? If not, we can let go 9 minutes early per my computer. Going once, going twice. Sold. All right. Thank y'all all very much for attending and being a part of this. We appreciate y'all's feedback and input. Helps to make sure the processes are flowing as efficiently as possible. So thank you.
Appreciate it, everybody. You have a good day.